Hello everybody and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'm going to take you through the process of how to make this industrial tote bag right here. And you might already have this pattern and had it for a few weeks. I released a reel about a month ago and it went viral. I ended up sending 30,000 versions of this pattern out, and I made a mistake and I didn't do the tutorial to go with it. I have moved straight onto like a roadmap that I have with creating just different unisex patterns from now until the end of the year. So I kind of like started that roadmap and then realized that I had to fit this tutorial in somewhere, and it was very hard to fit in, but here we are, we're finally here. I'm not going to make you wait any longer. Let's dive into how to make this bag. And before we fully start on this tutorial, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jack. I run Rough Cut Official. It's been like a 8-9 year project of me just creating really cool shit and uploading it onto social media. And the past year I've decided to make sewing patterns because I want to make getting into sewing a bit more familiar to those who don't want to use the specific tools that are out there at the moment. There is a lot of rubbish tools on how to get into sewing, so I feel like I'm trying to sort of like fill that gap and make the right tools for you to actually want to complete, which is what this pattern is. And if this pattern works, it's a perfect sort of kickstarter into my other patterns. It's free for that reason. I believe in these products, and if you come out the other end with a finished product, then feel free to go and purchase any of my other patterns on the website. They are $15.95 and they are graded in all different sizes. They take you through the whole process, whether it's me making the tutorial or someone from our WhatsApp community has made a tutorial. You'll be able to follow step by step and learn how to complete a jacket, a pair of trousers, a pair of shorts, anything you like really. Anyway, let's show you the pattern and let's get into the full tutorial. So this right here is my industrial tote bag pattern. You might have already received this from my Instagram DM bot that I've set up, or alternatively, you might have gone on my website and downloaded it for free, which is on this page right here. If you haven't already, then you can go onto the website, download it, and you'll have multiple formats. You'll have A4 and you'll have US letter. It is just two different types of paper. If you're in the rest of the world and you're not in somewhere like US, Canada, or anywhere that prints letter format paper, then you'll need A4. If you're in anywhere else, you're probably going to need A4, which is what I'm using right here. This bag comes in two sizes. It comes in 35 centimeters and 45 centimeters. You open it up, you should have a contents page that tells you all the pages. You have your tools, materials, and hardware. So for tools, you just need a pair of fabric scissors or cutters. You can use your home kitchen scissors. You need a ruler, tape measure, chalk, fabric marker, pins or clips, and an iron. This is the base level stuff, but everyone should have something like this within their house. You can use your kitchen scissors, you can use the normal iron, it all works the same. Now fabric, you have a main fabric and a lining fabric. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using offcuts of denim, which I will show you in a minute. And I've got some lining, which you only need a meter of. So this project at most should only cost £20, £25, around $30 if you're in America. Hardware, so you need buttons, snap fasteners. You don't necessarily need these. I'm going to show you how to make the base level industrial tote bag. I might add some rivets here and there, but you don't need any of this sort of stuff. 3 meters of strap or webbing for the handles. If this is your first sewing project, you don't necessarily need that either. I'm going to use it, and I'm also going to show you a little trick when we get there, but you don't also need that. And then optional again, paracord 60 by 80 centimeters. This is to cinch in the side pockets, but again, optional. Toggles, this is just to cinch in the paracord. You don't need it again. So pretty much if you've got a meter of fabric and a meter of fabric you'd want in the inside of your bag, then the rest of the tools you can use at home. You can make this tote bag. It's meant to be the first win, that first proper win in sewing. So the next page says how to use this sewing pack, and it actually has a bit of a mistake here, which I've now corrected on this pattern. So it says ensure to print the pattern at 100%, no scaling. So you can scale it at 100%. I don't know why I've worded it like this. And also there is another mistake here that says 3/8, which is 1 centimeter seam allowance, which is incorrect. This all should be updated when you download this pattern. If you have the pattern which says this, go on my website, download it, print it again. This right here is the assemble page. So this is what all your pattern pieces should look like when they are stuck together. Taping all pattern pieces together. So I have actually already done this, so I'm not going to show you in this video how to print, stick, and cut out your size. There is a full tutorial tutorial right here on my website, and you can follow that tutorial. It goes through every part of that. It's on the need help page on my roughcutpatterns.com website. Assembling your pattern, whenever the line with the arrows, and then this right here is the start of your pattern. So you can scroll through the pages, double check to make sure that you have printed out the perfect amount of pages, and the reason it's got some dotted and a normal black line is because one of them is the 35 centimeter bag and then the other one is the 40 centimeter bag. And that right there is your sewing pattern. I have actually, as I said, already cut this out and stuck it together. I'm doing the 45 centimeter bag in this video. Again, I can visually show you the line that I have cut out right here is the 45 centimeter bag, and the line on the inside is the smaller bag there. You should have all your panels ready to go. And if you're unsure what a lot of the sort of markings and arrows and text means on the pattern pieces, I'm just going to put this little image up here that you can screenshot. It's on all of my other patterns within the booklets, and it should be on this tote bag too, but it's pretty much a pattern icon glossary that breaks down exactly what all of these different things do. So let's cut our fabric. So 2 little tips before we fully start. You basically want to be cutting out directly on the line of the paper when you're cutting out the pattern, which goes without saying. And then when you actually go to cut out your fabric, which is what I'm going to do in a minute, cut directly along the edge of the paper. You don't want to add seam allowance to your fabric. You just want to cut directly along the paper. It already has seam allowance included. And when you get to sewing this project, just so you know, on all of my sewing patterns, you sew at a 1/4, i.e. 6 millimeters seam allowance. So on your sewing machine, you should have different markings, 1, 2, 3, and you always want to be sewing on that number 1. I'm going to be using an industrial machine in this video. If you're using a domestic machine, that is completely fine. This project should be super easy no matter what machine you're using, but for video's sake, I'm going to be using my industrial sewing machine, which is a Juki DDL 8700E. Right, so now that information's out the way, let's get to construction. For this bag that I'm making, I'm using a karate belt, which kind of seems weird, but I'm going to use this as webbing. I found this is quite a cool little tip, cool little sewing hack. Webbing can be quite annoying because a lot of it can be quite polyester and shiny. I found a karate belt in a charity shop for £2.50, so I'm using this as the webbing for my bag, which is the strap which you're going to hold. So that's £2.50 for the straps of my bag. I'm also using this stuff right here. This is basically wadding for the inside of the bag. If you are interested in making the bag sort of stand up by itself or last a bit longer, be a bit more structural, then I would recommend using wadding or interfacing. This stuff that I'm using right here is like a padding stuff. I got this from the local fabric shop for £9 a meter, but pretty much you just sew your main panels down and then cut it out, and then pretty much just gives a little bit more structure, and then when you input your lining a little bit later, you can sort of have a bit more structure to your bag. For the main fabric, I'm using this offcuts of denim, which I've used for the previous 2 sewing patterns that I just released. So I made them out of denim and I'm using the offcuts from that. And then just to spice up and make it a little bit rough cut-esque, I'm also going to patchwork a little bit of denim, and then I'm going to add my sashiko stitching to it a little bit later. So I'm going to go and cut out fabric. On certain panels I'm going to patchwork. You don't have to follow me, just make sure you're following the indications on the pattern where it says cut 2, or on some panels it says cut 1. Make sure you're following the indication of how many pieces of fabric you need to cut out, and then yeah, we'll touch bases when I have cut out all the fabric. So I just wanted to mention that I am patchworking a few of these panels. So I'm just laying the fabric over the paper, and then I am just pinning all the bits together, and then cutting out the final shape once all the pieces of denim are patchworked. But it just goes to show that with this project you can literally just use anything. If you have like 5 pairs of denim jeans that you don't wear anymore, upcycle them, make a tote bag. If you did order fabric for this project, then make one tote bag out of your fabric and then make the next tote bag out of some upcycled stuff. You have the pattern forever and you can use it over and over again. Where it says cut to mirrored on the pieces of paper, what I'm doing, if you've never done this technique before, is you're just basically placing 2 pieces front facing, so the good sides of the fabric are facing each other, and then you're just cutting them out together, both pinned down to the piece of paper, and then that will give you 2, one for one side, one for the other side of the bag. So I've just cut out all of the different pattern pieces, and just like I said earlier, if it says to cut 1, obviously only cut 1. And if it says to cut 2, like this big panel does here, then you cut 1 and then cut another one the exact same above. Just the same as this bottom panel, it says cut 1 there, and I've literally just aligned the other one on top of the fabric right there. Same with the pockets, cut 2, because obviously you need 2 for the bag, 1 for either side. Same with the side pockets, and then here with this side panel right here, it says to cut 2, but if you're adding lining, cut 4. And that pretty much applies to the bottom panel, the main panel, and the side panel, because you're basically going to be rebuilding the bag shell and then basically sewing it into the inside. And then obviously along this process, if you are a bit more experienced at sewing, you can choose to add things like welted pockets. You can choose to add like an inner lining pocket to your lining. But for now, I'm going to build this out as the base level bag. I won't show you how to do that. There is a welted pocket tutorial on my YouTube, as I say in every single video. But yeah, right now I've just patchworked all of these different panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stitch them all together, so all of the patchworking is together, and then I'll be at the stage where you are once you've cut out all your pieces. There's an extra step for me just because I chose to patchwork the denim. Sew all the patchwork together, and then we'll tackle the side pockets first. So, I'm now at the stage where you probably are when you've cut out all your fabric. I had to patchwork mine. As you can see here, I was just stitching the patchwork together. That right there is the side pocket. I have my front pockets where I've cut 2. I have both my strips for the handles. I've got my 2 side strips, as you can see right here. I have my bottom piece, which as you can see I patchworked. And then I have my 2 bottom panels and then 2 main panels. As I mentioned, that took me a little bit longer than it would take you because I actually, like I said, I patchworked everything. But now I'm at the stage that you're at. Normally, you'd cut out your lining too to make sure that you have it together. I've kind of forgot to do that, so I'm going to do that now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out the lining of the fabric for the bag. Pretty much all you're going to need for that is you're going to need 2 front and back pieces, 1 bottom piece and 2 side strips again. I'm going again, Vince. So as you can see now, I pretty much have all my pieces ready. I'm going to walk you through them quick just to let you know exactly what is going on, and then I'm going to cut out some lining. I have 1 bottom piece which I've patchworked. I have 2 bottom panels, which is my other denim. As you can see there, 2 pieces. I have 1 front and 1 back piece which are both patchworked. I have 2 strips, 2 front pockets, 2 side pockets which have been patchworked, and then I have 2 side strip panels there. So pretty much that is all of my outer shell ready to stitch together. Before I do stitch that together, I'm going to cut out my lining. And for cutting out your lining, you just need 2 more side strips, 1 more bottom panel, and 2 more front and back panels. You can choose to cut this all out together. I just didn't do it for some reason. But again, you're going to need 1 meter of fabric, and then you can just cut everything out. You might need only half a meter of fabric, but pretty much, yeah, just cut out the panels I've just said. I'll put them on the screen here again. It should say on the pattern pieces. And then we will get to sewing and constructing everything. I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing the side pocket, so you can either choose to do it one way or the other, or you can choose to just do it simple and not do any of the 2 ways I'm about to show you. But yeah, pretty much, or you can just choose to do it another way without using the 2 techniques that I'm about to show you. But anyway, let's cut out the lining and then we will get to stitching everything together. So I just cut out the lining right there for the tote bag, and pretty much now I'm at a stage where we start sewing everything together. But I just wanted to mention something before we start sewing everything together. And that is pretty much what I'm going to do right now, and if you want to do the same you can do. Pretty much on some of the panels that I have cut out ready right here, you'll see that I have patchworked them. Something that I like to do as a little signature for rough cut is I like to merge sashiko and hand stitching embroidery into the patchwork. So now would be the time that you add all of the little details and anything that you want to add, whether you want to add a little welted pocket which looks something like this, and there is a video like I said on my YouTube, or it'd be a time to add maybe some like patches or just anything that speaks to you. This is how you make your tote bag super unique. For me, I'm going to get the hand stitching needle and thread out, and I'm going to just hack away at this for a few hours. I started quite late today, so I'm probably just going to do the hand stitching, make sure everything's together, leave it at a little bit of a checkpoint and carry on tomorrow. So I'm going to do some sashikoing now, and then I'm going to leave, come back in the morning, and then carry on with the tote bag, and then we'll get onto the stitching, smash it out in a few hours. By the end of the video, you'll have an amazing tote bag. So let me jump into the hand stitching.
Hey, I don't see anything my way. I'm rooting for you.
So, as you can see, it's kind of a new day, but it's already got dark. I'm a little bit behind with this tutorial. Pretty much, I'm now at the stage which you guys are going to be at, which is having all your panels cut out. I've now sashikoed everything, which tends to take me a little bit more time just because I want to focus on it looking really nice. I've done my 2 front and back pieces sashikoed, all hand stitched. I've got my lining cut out, exactly all the panels to start sewing. So now let's actually get to the sewing part of the tutorial. So I've just separated all the panels out into 3 sections. I've basically just compiled the side pockets with the side strips. I have put basically everything else together, and then I've put my bottom panel separate here. So this webbing here, this front pocket, the strips and the bottom panel along with the front and back are going to be the main build out that you're going to do with the sewing. And then the side pocket is going to be built separately. I'm going to show you 2 techniques of how to do this, and then you're connecting it to the side strip. Then once you've done all the sewing for the front, you've done all the sewing for the side, we're basically going to construct everything together, and then I'm finally going to show you how to connect the lining. So let's first focus on this front right here. We'll get this all built out and then we'll do the side and start connecting everything together. So for the front, we have quite a few panels, so I'm just going to break down the construction for you. Right here we have the karate belt, which I'm using for webbing. I explained the reason I'm using this for webbing is because it is that really nice cotton. I don't really like how shiny normal webbing looks. We've got 2 of these front pockets. The reason we have 2 is because obviously we have a front and a back of the bag to finish. We then have the bottom panel, which we have 2 of, obviously again because we're connecting them both to the front. And then we have 2 strips, and these are your straps for the bag. And then obviously we have our lining, which we can move to the side for now. And then we have the 2 front and back pieces. What we're going to start with is I'm just going to lay, just so you can visually see what's going on here, I'm going to lay the bottom panel just right there, so you can see that that is going to fit perfectly on the bottom. Then I'm also going to visualize, then I'm also going to show you that that middle pocket sits right in the middle. And then once you've constructed your straps, you'll see that they're going to fit something similar to that. This is basically the front of your bag. As I mentioned, you're at the stage where if you want to do any more customizing to this front panel, now would be the chance. But if you don't, let's break down exactly how this is going to work. So I'm going to start with the straps. So you want to get your 2 straps. I'm going to move all the panels out the way. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to iron them down so they're flat. Once you have a pressed strap, what you're going to do is front sides facing each other. You're just going to sew the edges together. So we're basically going to sew the edges of this strip with a 1/4 seam allowance all the way down. And then you can see that this is making the width of what your strap needs to be. Once you've sewn that together, you want to turn it inside out, and then we want to press it again. Then you should have a seamless strap. This strap is going to merge with your webbing. If you've got the correct width webbing, it should sit perfectly all along the strap. But when we get to that, I'll show you what to do. For now, just fold the front facings. You can iron them down if it makes it a little bit easier for you. And we're going to do the exact same thing for the other strap too, as you should have 2 of them. So right now you should have 2 folded over strips. What we're going to do with this is we're basically going to sew these at a 1/4 seam allowance all the way down the open edge. And this should close up your straps, and then afterwards we're going to turn them inside out, which can get a little bit tricky. So I'm going to show you a way to make it easier for yourself. So let's sew these together, then I'll get to the next step. So I'm going to show you a little sewing hack to be able to turn these inside out. If you have your own way of doing it, then be my guest, go ahead and do it your way. However, I'm going to show you the way that I would do this, and the way that I would do this is by using a little bit of string like this. If you've watched some of my other videos, I tend to use the same technique. Right here you have an opening, and basically what you want to do is you want to drop this string all the way in, just like this. You want to drop that string into this opening. Might be easier to do this with a thicker bit of string, but oh well. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to sew up this string inside this opening. And we're going to sew the same way with a 1/4 seam allowance just along the top of this. So you should have a little bit of string dangling over like this. What you want to do is straighten out your string so it's actually hanging inside here, and then you just want to sew it closed along this top edge here. And what we're going to do is, whilst we're turning this inside out, from the other end we are just getting to the point where we can hold the string and then just rip it through, and it should turn this inside out, and then you can just unpick the string out of the strap end. Now there is no real easy way of turning a piece of fabric inside out like this. It does take time unless you have some kind of industrial method, which I don't have right here. And basically you're just slowly turning it. This is going to take me a long time. It's going to take you a long time too, and you have to do it with both straps. But this might unfortunately take you a long time. There's not really an easy way to turn fabric inside out, unfortunately.
Also another gap further on the wall where the center sources would come out. This is very important to them for the rituals, for the religion.
So I didn't do a very good job of showing you perfectly what happened there. So I'm going to show you a little bit better now. If you thread that string all the way through, and for example, you comes out the other side, then it's going to make it way easier for you to actually turn the strip inside out. So I'm just going to hit it with a little iron to open it, just the opposite way that we ironed it before, just so we can actually get an opening to this cylinder. As you can see, just like this, we're just ironing it so it's open on the inside. So now we can see there is a little bit of, opening to the strip. I'm going to grab a bit of string. Now I'm going to use this paracord right here, and I'm basically just going to drop it through one side of the strip. And you're just going to slowly thread it through until we see it on the other end of the other opening. Just like that, as you can see, the string has come through the other side. So now you can cut the cord just where you have, just like that. Right, so now your string is threaded through one side. You can see the paracord is coming out the end, and the other side, the paracord is coming out the end too. What we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure that we reinforce this piece of string and sew it down quite a few times. We're gonna unpick this in a minute, but we basically just want to make sure that this string is very securely in place. And now that string is securely in place, I just sort of back and forth tacked it over a few layers. We're basically going to start turning this inside out. But before we start turning it inside out, we actually want to just start the process ourselves, otherwise it won't go the right way. Just like this. And as you can see, you have something similar to that. Now, what we can do is with one hand we can hold the string, and the other hand we can hold just where it's turning inside out. We can slowly pull on this side right here, and then with our other hand we can just hold it secure. So as you're pulling, it's going to slowly turn everything inside out, and you can slowly push with this hand too. And the reason we're pushing with our right hand is just so we don't get loads of bunching. If it all bunches in one area whilst turning it inside out, then you're going to have a big issue. So you just want to take this slow and just slowly turn the whole thing inside out. Like there, I've got a bit of bunching. I'm just going to pull it back to its original sort of where it was. And I know this sounds quite odd, but you can sort of like make your hand a bit less dry and it will stick to the fabric more, so when you're turning inside out. And as you can see, it's coming out the other side. Now we can grab our blade and we can just snip this sort of bit of thread. Just like that, and then you can save that bit of string for later. Now what we're going to do is we're going to match up that middle sort of seam that you've just made with that stitch. Now it's inside out. We're just going to iron all the way down it to make sure it's directly in the center of our strap. So now you can see we have two turned inside out straps, and just to add a little bit more sort of structure, this is where your webbing comes in. And if you got the correct size webbing, then it should fit just perfectly, as you can see right there, just perfectly in the middle of your denim strap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a really fine stitch all along the edge, and what you can do is you can add a pin into this just to hold it into place, and you want to stitch all the way along. So I'm going to start from one side, make sure that it's matched up to the bottom, and I'm going to line this up all the way along. I'm going to throw a little pin in every now and then, or if you feel comfortable enough, you don't need to add the pin. but we're just lining this up in the middle and we're stitching it down one way. So we're running a stitch all along this edge, hopefully with the matching colour, so white in my case. And then we're just going to get to the end. I know that's a perfect amount there, so I can just cut that. And then we're turning round and just stitching all the way down the other end. So let me show you. That right there is one of your straps. I'm just going to trim the edge. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the other side. So, as you can see, these are my two straps right here. And I actually didn't have enough of the karate belt webbing to be able to do both of them at the exact same length. So what I'm going to just do is I'm going to trim off this section here and just make my straps a tiny bit sort of smaller. But I think this is quite an interesting thing to note, just mainly because if you did have a bag at home or some type of tote bag or a handbag or whatever it was that you wanted to reference the strap sort of handle size, go away, measure it, come back, and you can cut these handles to whatever length you want. They don't have to be the length that we've provided. We just provided that as a base sort of guide, but as you can see here, I'm having to trim them. There's nothing wrong with that. It really depends on your preference. So yeah. And also, if you're wondering what this magic tool I'm using is, I use this in almost every one of my tutorials to cut patterns, cut edges, cut everything pretty much, fabric, everything. I use this tool. This is an electric fabric cutter. This cost me around £100, but it saves me so much time so I don't have to snip everything and cut everything with scissors. So I would very highly recommend one. I might link one in the description, I might not. So now we have the two straps fully completed and they're looking really, really nice actually. We can actually remove the strap panel piece and just move it out the way for now because we don't actually need it. What we're going to do is we're going to grab our front panel. I'm going to show you what we're going to focus on next. So you have these two panels right here, which is the bottom of your front panel. You have your main pocket. The way you're going to construct this is pretty much, this pocket goes down on the markings. We also have a fold on the top of this pocket, which we'll get to in a minute. These handles then are placed on top. We just want to match up the bottom right here, so they both match up. And then this pocket is basically accessible because you're stitching this strap down. And then on top of that, we're then going to place this bottom panel. And right there, you can see that the tote bag is slowly taking place. So what we're going to do first, we can move the strap out the way for now, and you can do this at the same time as you're doing the other one as well. So you want to grab both your pocket panels. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do a double fold stitch on the top of this pocket. So let me just show you. You can fold over once, hit it with an iron. And as you can see, that fold is like a ½ inch. And then you want to fold it over the second time. And then just hit it with another iron. Do the same for the other side. Now we can take these over to the sewing machine and we can follow that same 1/4 seam allowance from stitching on the inside. And just like that, cutting our excess threads off, you've just closed the top of the pocket. I'm going to do the same for the other side. Just like that, you have two front pockets ready to stitch in. Now, what we're going to do, before we start stitching anything together, we're going to move them 2 pockets out the way. We're just going to grab this bottom panel, turn it backwards. Just going to hit it with a press to clean it up. We're basically just going to do the same thing that we just did with the pockets, but we're only going to do 1 fold. So just fold that over 1/2 inch, and we're just going to press that all the way down. So let me explain to you what's going on with this front panel. I've basically pinned this front pocket down where it's meant to be placed, and then I'm going to grab the 2 pieces of strap and I'm just going to overlap them over both sides of the front pocket. Make sure when you're overlapping them, you're about to do a stitch all the way down this line here. So make sure that when you are overlapping them, it kind of matches up with that middle seam to the side of the pocket. This is because if you just sew it really close to the edge, this is what's going to sew down your pocket. So if you sew it too close to the edge, then the pocket will just come loose. So you need to make sure that you're matching. You could go a little bit more close to the edge than the middle seam, but just make sure that when you're matching this strip on top of your middle pocket, you're just making sure that it lines up, that you're stitching down the pocket too when you're going along this line. Same with the other side, just make sure that you're actually lining it all up, and that seems about right to me. If you again want to shorten your straps, just pull them down. I think that looks about good for me. And then we're going to grab our bottom panel, and that goes on top of these 3 panels that you've just put down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to pin all of this down so none of it moves, and then I'm going to show you how to sew it. So, I have pinned down everything, making sure that I leave enough space so when I sew over this strip, it sews down the middle pocket too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew a line all the way along this folded edge of my bottom piece. And then I'm going to stitch all the way down just to secure this. And then that is that whole bottom piece in place, which basically secures your middle piece and your straps down the bottom. And then I'm going to stitch up this strip. And then I'm going to stitch 1 inch away from the top. Let me just show you that on the sewing machine. So now right there we have secured this bottom strip to the bottom of the bag. What we're going to do is we're going to sew up this strip, and then we're basically going to leave 1 inch. So exactly where I've placed that pin, we're then going to sew horizontally and then right back down that strip. The reason we are leaving 1 inch from the top is so you're able to move the strap out the way. And the reason you want to move it out the way is because we're going to be attaching the lining along this top panel to turn it inside out at the end. So we're basically leaving a little gap and stitching. We're not stitching all the way to the top, we're just leaving a little 1 inch gap that we can stitch down. So once we get about a 1 inch away, just going to back and forth stitch. And we're going to switch directions, stitch horizontally, and then follow that strip all the way down again. And this one, you want to make sure you understand that it's closing the side of the front middle pocket. So, as you can see now, this is all stitched together. This is a functioning front pocket now. It's sewn down on the side of these straps. I did just do a little back and forth stitch on the top, just using the back and forth stitch mechanism. Yours might be up here on your sewing machine. And then I also left that inch at the top so I can sew my lining in a little bit later. And then obviously all that bottom piece is sewn in too, and I think this looks really, really clean. I'm going to add a few rivets. I'm going to add one there, one there. The rivets that I am actually going to use is I've got these super nice hammer-on brass rivets. So they kind of look a little bit like this when they're done. So they're actually, you cut them off and then hammer them in with the press tool right here. I'm just going to put one right there just to secure the pockets. And I've actually got this other side ready to sew the exact same as I did on the front. So also when you're stitching over the double layer strap with the webbing and then the, you know, base panel and this bottom panel, it's going to get quite a lot for your machine, so just take it super slow. Another little pro tip is when your bobbin runs out, I'd always at the start of the sewing project make enough bobbins that you think would last you the whole project instead of filling them up as you go. And then you can just literally throw a new one in and just carry on stitching. So, just like that, you have the two front pieces fully finished. Whichever way you decide is going to be the front and the back. And pretty much I'm just going to now add these little rivets, these hand press rivets. I'm going to POV me doing it, but I'm not going to show you the process. Essentially, you're just piercing a hole in your fabric with some type of tool, and then you are literally just putting that through, then adding your rivet, hammering it down, cutting it off, and then hammering and like burring the edge off. But you can look at how to use these. These are just called brass hand hammer rivets, you know. But yeah, I'm going to add 4 of these, 2 to each side, and that's just going to clean up and give a little bit more structure to the middle pocket. And then we'll move on to actually constructing the side pockets. Let's do it. So I've kind of now put in the rivets. I'd say they're 80% done. It's just you're meant to burr off the edge of them so they become nice and sort of round and really clean. But it's too loud to do in this studio, so I'm going to leave it for now and do that a little bit later. I've got these 2 pieces of hardware. This is actually a bottle opener that could be integrated onto clothing. And I've got a little triangle sort of clasp. Both of these are really light. They're meant for hiking wear. I might actually link where I got these from. They get imported in from Europe. But pretty much, I'm going to integrate them into the bag. So I think I want to add the bottle opener quite low. I'm going to connect it to the side of this strap. You don't have to do this. This is just an optional thing that I'm doing. And then I'm also going to connect this, which is going to hold my keys. I'm just going to connect it to this part of the bag right here. And then my keys should nicely sit in this pocket. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm basically going to create a strip of denim the same way we made this strap, where we've sewn together the front facings, turn it inside out. And then I'm just going to open up this bit of stitching that I did here. And I'm doing this because I wanted to add them now and I didn't add them earlier, but also to show you that if you grab a blade or a seam ripper, you can just later on come in, unpick, and then leave a little bit of an opening there, so then you can actually stitch different mechanisms back in. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to POV it and show you, but you don't have to do this. You could just skip ahead 10 seconds or, you know, a few 10 seconds until you get past the point of me doing this. So let me show you. So I just added the rivets, and I also added them two little details there, the little bottle opener on the bottom, then this little triangle on the top of the pocket, which works really nicely, as I can show you. I can connect my carabiner to it and then put my keys in the pocket, which is super nice, and then they stay secure. But overall, looking at these two front panels, I am super happy with them. I think this bag is turning out a lot better than I kind of even expected, which is really positive. So let's move on to the side pockets, and then I'll show you how to construct everything together. Right here, I've just laid out the bottom panel, the side panels, the side pockets, and then the lining. We're going to focus on these two panels right now, so the side panel and the side pocket, and I'm going to show you two ways to attach the side pockets. I'm going to show you elastic, and I'm also going to show you how to do it with toggles and eyelets. The reason I'm showing you both is because you can either choose to do the elastic version if you have elastic, or you can choose to do the rope and eyelet version if you have eyelet. So let me break it down to you. So for now, we're just going to move these front and back pieces out the way, and we're going to move and sort of juggle it round a little bit, and we're going to grab these two pieces right here. Let me attach the camera above so you can see what's going on. So as you can see right here, you have two side panels, obviously for either side of the bag, and then you have two side pockets. If this is your first time making the tote bag, then you can do the same thing that we did with the front pocket, and you can stitch along that line, fold it over twice, and then you don't have to add any elastic or rope to this project, and you can sew it all together. The way you would sew it together is pretty much these little triangles at the bottom. They're called darts. What we're going to do is we're going to just front facing sew them together. So just the two sides of the triangle, fold them in, sew them together. And the same with the other one, fold them in, sew them together. Now this pocket should be able to be manipulated round, so you can actually stitch it to the edge of this garment. And once this is pulled in and the darts are sewn together, then we should be able to perfectly match this pocket so it fits onto the side of this panel right here. What I'm going to show you how to do is how to incorporate some elastic into this top band, and then I'm also going to show you on the other one right here how to incorporate some string and a toggle system. The reason I'm showing you both, like I said, was just so you have the option to do either, but if you didn't have elastic and you didn't have rope, then you can just stitch this together the same way we did before with a 1/4 seam allowance, closing up that double fold, and then sew the darts together and stitch it to your bag. Just to make it clear again, we're stitching the side of this pocket, and once the dart is together, we're stitching all the way around, and it should create a little 3D effect for this pocket on the side. And don't worry about these showing seams, because once we actually get to constructing the bag, this will all be closed and you won't see the seams. So let's get to the first thing. So the elastic. I got this elastic from the fabric shop. It is about 1 inch wide, and then I just got a little bit more than I thought I'd need for the pocket. What we're going to do is we're going to do the same folding mechanism, but we're just going to make sure on that second fold we're leaving enough of a gap so when it's stitched down we have enough space to thread our elastic through. Now I just did that by eye, but you can do measurements and sort of figure it out, but I think I've got it perfect there. Again, you need to leave enough of a gap on your second fold, so one sort of like 1/2 or 1/4 inch fold over, and then you're just folding it over once more, a little bit bigger than what you've been doing, just enough gap so you can thread that bit of elastic through afterwards. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a few pins to make sure this is secure. And then what we're going to do is just stitch all the way down this line as close to that fold as we can. And then afterwards we're going to thread the elastic through, and we're just going to cut it to where we want it to be when it's elasticated, and then it should naturally cinch in the pocket. But I'll show you that on POV. Just like that. And what you can do at this point, you can see that there's a lot of messiness on the inside of my patchwork. Yours shouldn't be as messy if you haven't done patchwork, but if you did want to clean up all the inside of the pocket, what I would recommend doing is you're getting into the territory of lining there, so I'd probably just cut another pocket out of the lining, the same as this, and then just trim 1 inch off the top of your lining panel, and then you can do the fold and it will fold over your lining, and then you'll have this clean sort of lining on the inside. Just stitch it all the way around around and down, but I'm not going to do that. So right here, I'm going to figure out how much I want to cinch this pocket in. So I'm just going to grab about 2/3 of the way, or maybe about halfway, and I'm going to pull this elastic. I think halfway is a bit too much, maybe 2/3, and I'm just going to pull. Right there, the pocket should elasticate in quite nicely. So I'm just going to trim this bit of elastic. And you can see it's a little bit smaller than the pocket. So what we're going to do is we're going to thread this bit of elastic through that little hole, and we're going to stitch down one side of the elastic. So we're just going to stitch that down. And then what we're going to do as we've stitched that down is we're just going to thread that elastic through, or if it's feeling a little bit hard, grab some tweezers or something that can pick it up. And we're just going to put the tweezers through, grab the elastic. And we're just going to pull it through to the other side. Just like that. And then again, once you're holding that, don't let it fall. You can sort of spread out the denim, and then we're just going to stitch down that side. Cut the excess threads, and as you can see there, we have an elasticated denim pocket. Now we're just going to sew the darts together with a 1/4 seam allowance. Same with the other side, sew that dart together with a 1/4 seam allowance. Now you can see the pocket is now taking shape. What we're going to do now is we're going to grab our side panel, and we're going to match up that bottom, and as you can see now you've added the darts. The pocket width on the bottom is going to match up with the width on the bottom of the side panel too. So now we're going to pin this all the way around, and then we're going to sew it all the way around, and you should have a nice 3D effect to the pocket. As you can see there, now we stitch all the way around this, you can see that that elastic denim pocket is functioning kind of perfectly. That is really, really nice actually. I'm going to throw that one to the side. Now we're going to do the toggle stop pocket. Essentially for this one, we're just doing the same kind of thing where we're allowing a bit of space in this top piece here, and this is going to be a little bit less space because we're running string through here instead of elastic. I'm using this pink string here, and then what I'm going to do, this sort of part of the tutorial is based off if you have eyelets. Actually, I've just realized I don't have eyelets, because even if I did, I have just broke my rivet press. The trim shop rivet press has broken. It was on there and I was pressing it down and the bottom of it snapped off. So even if I wanted to show you how to do the eyelets with the channel and then cinching in the drawstring mechanism on this pocket, I actually couldn't because my eyelet press is broken. So yeah, sorry about that, but I kind of like planned to show you how to do the cinching mechanism with the string and the eyelets and using a cord stopper, but I couldn't actually do it because I realized yesterday I've just broken my eyelet press and I don't have a manual way to do it. I was going to use these like super small eyelets and you need a specific press for them. However, I've just ordered a new rivet press, and if you are interested in doing this cord stopper technique, you can watch this video right here, which is my origin hooded jacket tutorial, and basically I showcase how to do it in there with the channels through the hood, the waist and the cuffs. So yeah, I'm sorry for that, but I'm just going to do another elastic pocket on the side of the bag instead. So let's do it. So now we're at the stage where we have done both the pockets. Again, sorry for not being able to show you the cinching mechanism, but this is just what I can do at the moment. We can move them to the side and sort of assess what we've got going on here. We've got the front and back panel of the tote bag fully constructed right there. We understand that these are the two side parts that connect up right there, as you can see, and the other one would obviously connect to the other side right there. And then we know this is the bottom panel, and then all of this is the lining, which we will sort of tackle a little bit later on, so we can still leave that to the side for now. And basically we're going to focus all on these panels right now. I actually have this right here, which is interfacing sort of like polyester for the inside of a bag. I got this at the hardware shop, like I said, the fabric shop, for around £9. You can alternatively use this stuff called webbing, and pretty much it works the exact same as what I'm going to be showing you with this stuff right here. Or alternatively, you don't have to use this or that at all. You can actually just miss this next step out, which I'm going to show you. But the reason I'm doing this is because this material here actually gives the bag more structure. I want this bag to stand up on its own after it's finished. I want it to feel like a proper industrial tote bag. So I'm going to add this to it. Basically what I'm doing is I'm pretty much going to lay this fabric on the table, unroll it, and just basically cut out all of my panels out of this fabric, and then I'm going to pin it down to this fabric, and then I'm just basically going to cut them out, stitch them together on the machine. So pretty much all of these front panels are going to be infused with some of this on the back, and then we'll start constructing and sewing the bag together, and then we'll get onto the lining. But it's not that confusing. You're pretty much just using your panels that you already have right here as a template to then cut above this stuff, and then we are just pinning it together and sewing it. We're literally just sewing it all the way around our panels. But I'm going to put you on POV and show you exactly how to do it. It's not that complicated at all. So this should be enough fabric. It's 1 meter, and it should be enough fabric to do the whole thing. But essentially, just to explain again, we're just laying our pattern pieces on top of this nice foam fabric, and then we can sort of fold this strap in because we don't need to use it at the moment. We're pretty much going to pin all around this panel, and then we're going to cut it out, and then we're going to stitch all around, and then that is the whole panel interfaced. So let me explain. We can basically lay our panel pieces on top of the foam, or in your case wadding, or whatever you've used similar to me. I'm going to basically pin this all the way around, and then we're going to cut it out with our scissors, and then we're going to stitch it with like a 1 centimeter seam allowance all the way around, which is super small. And then we basically infused our panel with a sort of polyester on the inside, which is going to make it more structural when we finish the whole bag. So let me show you. I'm basically just going to finish putting the rest of the panels on. And as you can see right here, this is one of my panels with the foam on the inside, and you can see that I've cut it perfectly to the shape with pins. And now we're just going to take it over to our machine and just slowly do a very close seam allowance to the edge. Now, as you can see, that right there, you can't really tell the difference, but I feel like that feels so nice, and it's going to have a lot more structure when the final bag is completed. Now I'm just going to do the same thing for all the other panels. You're doing all the panels, so you're doing the back panel, the 2 side panels, and the bottom panel, and then we can actually start getting to construction. And again, I just wanted to mention that this stuff right here and the wadding that I just showed you, you don't need it for this project. If you have some heavyweight canvas on the outside, or you're lining it with the same sort of weight fabric on the inside, you really don't need it. You can make this bag without it. The same with the toggles, the same with the elastic. And then as you've made your first one, follow the tutorial, you can always come back to this video. Keep making more of these bags, and every time you make a new one, you can obviously add a new anything, get creative with it. This is meant to be, as I mentioned, the base pattern of all of my patterns. That's why I'm offering it to you for free. The download is in the description if you haven't already downloaded it and followed me yet. Downloaded it and started following me yet. Yeah. I'm going to stitch all of these together now I've pinned and cut them all, and then we will get on to the final steps, which is actually putting the bag together and finally adding the lining to the inside. So let's do it. So we're now at the stage where we have sewn all of the foam down to the back of each panel. And as you can see now, it's starting to take a lot of shape and it's looking really, really nice. So we're going to basically construct the outer shell of this bag. You can see the bottom panel connects up to the corners of the side panel, so you know it all fits perfectly. And then we can see that we have the lining over here. After we've basically sewn the shell of the bag together, we're basically going to construct the inner lining the same exact way that we are going to construct the outer shell. So I'm going to show you how to stitch all of the panels together now for the outer shell, and then we're going to basically replicate it the exact same for the lining. Again, just before we actually start sewing, I want to show you, make sure the bottom of your pocket is right next to the side panel of your bottom panel. You basically want to flip it over, 1/4 seam allowance along this, turn it back the other way, and then once it's sewn, we just want to hit it with a top stitch, and then you want to do the same to the other side. And then we should have one long strip of fabric. So just like that, 1/4 seam allowance, and now it should naturally just there fold over. Now you can choose which way you want to do this top stitch, but I'm going to do it naturally the way that it's flowing, so the fabric is choosing to fall on the bottom panel. So then I'm going to do my top stitch. So I'm folding and tucking all the fabric under, and I'm just going to run that top stitch just along this line here. Just back and forth stitching on the edges for more strength and more stability of the bag. So now we're just doing the exact same thing on the other side, so folding over, top stitch, then folding over, stitching it down, and then top stitching, the same as what we've just done. So now we have got this big old long strip, we're just going to visually show you what it's going to look like if you wrap it around the bag. So I'm just going to put you on here. I'm just going to show you that if you put it all around the bag without doing the fold on the hem on the side, just like that, you can see that it's going to be a bit too long for the actual pattern itself. So the actual side panel is just going to hang up. Now there's two ways that you can actually fix this, because this side piece is meant to be slightly hemmed in with a 1/2 inch. It says it on the pattern. It says 1 inch seam allowance, fold line. So you're meant to leave 1 inch and fold it over a 1/2 inch, and then that will perfectly match around the bag if you then turn it round. However, I don't think you need this fold line. I'm not sure why we added it in the first place. So I'm just going to trim. However, I'm going to trim this little 1/2 inch off because I would prefer not to fold over that side seam allowance. However, I'd prefer to cut off that hem fold line of the side of the tote bag because I don't think it's really needed for what we're doing. I'm going to do the same on the other side, so I'm just going to cut off like a 1/2 inch. Just like that. If you did want to fold that over, then you can, but it just means you have more bulk when you're sewing everything together. So I'm just going to close off these two top of my side pieces, and then that actually should fit perfectly around, just like that. So everything should perfectly fit up now. So yeah, so now what we can do is we can actually grab the front facing of our side. Now we've just trimmed off that 1/2 inch off the top. If you did choose to fold it over and then stitch it, that's fine. As I said, it's just a little bit more bulk. And basically we're just going to stitch a 1/4 seam allowance all the way around the bag. And with that 1/4 seam allowance, it should allow the top of your side and the top of your front panel to match up perfectly. And now we have just sewn that all the way around. You can see with that 1/2 inch snip that we did off the side panels, it fits absolutely perfectly. If you did fold it over, then it should still fit perfectly as well. What we're going to do now is we're going to take the side which has the raw edge now. We're just going to do the exact same thing for the other side of the bag. So this is going to be quite awkward if you have a domestic machine, but just take it slow. Take it really slow and you'll be able to do it. So essentially just a 1/4 seam allowance all the way around that edge to match them up. And then this should be the shell of your bag fully completed. And then we'll move on to building the actual lining itself, which is pretty much the exact same as how we built the front. So, as you can see, once you've stitched that down, you pretty much have a tote bag now. But what you want to do is you want to turn this inside out. And there we have it. That is the outer shell of the bag complete. Now we've literally just got to add the lining onto that, and then it's pretty much finished. So what I'm going to do now is break down the process of how to add the lining. Let's do it. So now I am onto the actual lining itself of the bag. You can see that is looking really clean now. We're going to be focusing on specifically this little section here, this raw edge all the way around the top. And you can see, so my camera just died there, but pretty much what I was describing was this little gap that you've left here above the straps. We're basically going to sew front facing the lining in, and when we construct the lining, we're just going to leave a little gap between the bottom piece here and the front or back piece. And then we're basically going to turn the whole bag inside out, and then we're going to sew up that hole again. And that hole is basically going to allow us to have a seamless bag. But it's quite confusing to describe. So basically what your next steps are to sew this lining together the exact same way you've just sewn this bag here. So obviously side pieces to bottom again, so you make that long strip, but obviously you don't have any pockets on this one, so exactly long strip, and then we want to just sew these long strips around. Now would be the time that if you want to add any inside pockets or welted pockets or anything like that, now would be the time to add them to the inside of your front or back, or both if you want to choose to have pockets on both. So basically sew the two side panels to the bottom and then add the pockets. If you don't want to add the pockets, I'm not for video's sake, otherwise it would make this too long. So I'm just going to sew this whole strip to around the front panel and then again to the back, and then we'll make our bottom opening, sew it together, turn it inside out, hit the last top stitch, and then we'll pretty much be done. And also one thing to quickly add, if you're using the same sort of fabric as me, don't get confused which is your side and your bottom. So obviously the longer strip is the bottom panel, these two side panels right here, they are the shorter panels. So what I'm going to do now is sew them together and do the exact same thing we did on the front of the bag. Also, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to add a top stitch on this, just because I'm using cream thread and I think it will look a little bit odd. So this is going on the inside of the bag, so it's not too big of a deal. I'm going to grab the other side panel, again make that long strip just like that, and now we can use a 1/4 seam allowance and just attach this all the way around the same way we did with the front. Now we're just going to connect the other front panel, and then I'll explain to you how to make that opening. Now what we're going to do here, we're sewing along the back piece onto the bottom piece. I'm just going to back and forth stitch, and then I'm going to stop sewing, I'm going to snip my thread, and then I'm actually going to carry on this stitch just where the bottom seam of the bottom panel is again. So we're like leaving a little gap now, just in the middle, and this is going to be to turn our whole bag inside out. The bigger gap you leave, the easier it's going to be to actually turn the bag inside out. So now we have sewn the whole inside lining together the exact same way we've just sewn the outer shell, and we've left this little gap here. This might be too small of a gap, so it might need you to actually not sew the whole of the bottom panel here. What we're basically going to do is we're going to turn the bag, we're going to turn the outer shell of our back inside out. It should look something like this. Now we can just sort of let them straps hang on the inside. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the lining and we're going to turn this outside in so it's the right way and the good side is facing outwards. Now we're just going to insert this into the bag itself, and we're just going to connect up the corners right there, and everything should match up perfectly. You're just connecting up the side seams, and what we're going to do now we've left this little gap here between our strap and the top edge of your main fabric is we're just going to pin this lining all the way around this top part. So I'll POV it, you'll see. I'm going to fast forward this, but yeah, make sure you're connecting that side seam up with the side and then opening up these seams so it helps when you're sewing, because otherwise you're going to get bulky seams. I'm just going to pin that down, and then I'm just going to work my way around the bag. I'm going to pin the seams first. And now we've pinned the inside lining. Remember, when you're doing this, let me just explain again, that the front facing of the lining needs to be facing the front facing of your outer shell. Otherwise, if you don't sew this properly, you might actually have an inside out lining to your bag. So remember, you can see the seams of your lining, and then if you turn this round you can see the seams of your outer shell. We're going to 1/4 stitch all the way around this bag, and then we're going to turn it inside out. And now we have stitched all the way around the bag. You can actually turn this outside and you can see that that hole that we've made is still there. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually turn the bag inside out through that hole. So we're basically going to fold everything through this hole. And consider the fact that I have just added this padding to the bag. I think it's going to be quite hard for me, especially with the straps, but we're going to give it a go. Everything has to fit through that hole. I would probably advise making a bigger hole, but I haven't done it. And I can hear popping of the threads, which probably is not a good sound. So now we have turned the bag through that hole. You can see that the opening hole is still there. So what we're going to do to stop that is we're just going to fold these sides in. They're naturally kind of flowing in that fold sort of way. You can sort of push your fingers against it and see that it will naturally fold in. We're going to throw a pin, and then we're just going to throw another pin in there. And as you can see, we're just folding the fabric the way it wants to go. We're just closing this hole up, and what you should do to make this really clean, so you want to match the colour of the thread so it matches your lining, so everything's sort of clean. I just don't know if I have any black thread laying around, but let's do it. We're just going to stitch over where our pins are here, and it's good to have the matching thread because obviously it will sort of blend in nicely. Now finally, what we can do to finish this bag is we can basically turn it inside out. And there's one little step that we can do to fully finish it. that is your bag. And to fully finish it, we're just going to pinch in the top, run pins all the way around, and then we're basically just going to hit a top stitch so that this lining merges in nicely. Once that is done, you'll have a clean top. What I have seen a load of other people from the community do is they add buttons just behind this strap and behind the other, and then you can sort of pin it together. Alternatively, if you're confident enough, you could add a zip across. There is many ways, but for this video's sake, I'm going to leave it how it is. So again, make sure you're pinching this lining round, and we're just going to add a top stitch all the way round to clean this up. And then we should have a completed rough cut industrial tote bag. Just like that, you have now finished your industrial tote bag. And I'm actually really happy with mine. That mixture of that dark denim with the patchwork, the sashiko. I really do like that I added that little bottle opener and the key holder. Let me just show you the key holder, which is super nice like that. And yeah, I love the black lining on the inside. I think it matches this dark denim. The bottom with the sashiko. Even these little cinched pockets are really nice. And yeah, I'm really happy. I think it's turned out amazing, and I hope you've been able to follow this tutorial. So I hope you managed to get some knowledge from this video. There should be some clips of the bag being worn on the left and right of me, and I really hope you managed to get some knowledge from this. This is a free sewing pattern, and I gave it for free because I truly believe that the techniques and the skills that you learn through this video on your machine, giving it patience and finishing one of these tote bags, truly takes you into the realm of being able to do every other sewing pattern on my website. I'm really proud of the sewing patterns. I've been doing it for a year now with my co-designer Gio and Vince, my editor, who's edited this video and done an amazing job. So there is 3 of us doing these sewing patterns, and we're all working together to get these tutorials out. We're trying to grind super hard to make sure that we can translate enough patterns where anyone can go on the website and sort of figure out something that they would like to wear. I think this tote bag is a perfect start. It's very universal. Everyone likes to wear a tote bag. Everyone likes to make a tote bag, but this one's just a little bit more complex. It's not your normal square tote bag. It's one that is going to take a little bit more effort to build, but hopefully it pays off in the long run with you being able to now go and create jackets, trousers, shorts. Every single Friday at 6 PM I drop a new pattern. Follow me on Instagram if you want that 30% off on the night of the pattern. So the pattern's only around £10. As I said, this one's completely free. If you're not convinced yet, then go and download it and jump straight in, because it is amazing. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little flybys of me being able to wear it and just showing you what it fits like. Go and make one for yourself. This pattern is completely free. Maybe this has been quite a long video, but I hope you've stuck with me, and I'll catch you next Friday at 6 PM.